I want to talk to you about warehouse shipping, and I want to give you the benefits, the cost, every tip that you need to really consider this year if you're trying to optimize your warehouse shipping. And it doesn't matter whether you have a brick and mortar store or you have a retail, let's say a retail operation, or even an online store. Okay, so here's the benchmarking I want you to really pay attention to this year. The thing is that a shipping warehouse is actually a place to hold unsold inventory, that's for sure. And today's conversation, I want to share with you how a shipping warehouse works and whether you need one for your retail business or even for your online operation. Okay. So instead of cluttering your retail stock room or overwhelming customers with too many products on the shop floor, the warehouse acts as a designated place to hold excess inventory. So it's one of those things where you want to really have a clear idea about what do you count as excess inventory and how often that excess inventory will come to the warehouse or even leave the warehouse. So it really depends a little bit of organization, especially if you serve multiple geographies at the same time. In other words, if you have a hybrid structure, for instance, you have a retail operation, but you also have an online store, actually complementing the retail operation. So shipping warehouses also play a key role in the supply chain by using them as mini distribution centers. So, for instance, if a customer places an order through your online store or pays for their order in store and agrees to deliver at a later date, you don't need to fulfill orders at your retail location. Your warehouse team can manage the logistics of your shipping, leaving your retail team with more time to do what they do best, which is serve customers in store. Okay, so if you are really unsure on how to incorporate warehouse shipping into your retail strategy, really, I will explain to you things in a very methodical way. Now, it's important to understand that a shipping warehouse is important for several reasons. For instance, you are able to increase actually customer satisfaction, you can reduce cost, and you can also limit inventory shrinkage. So inventory shrinkage costs an average of 10 to 15% every single year. So that's a lot of cash. So when you think about warehouse shipping, let me really explain to you how the process really works in detail so you have a clear idea. So there's a lot that goes on into warehouse shipping. Most of it happens before your parcels leave the facility. So here is how the entire process typically works from end to end, from A to Z, if you will. So you have a staff preparing warehouse shipments. So a customer places their order through your point of sale system or online store. Then the staff will aggregate and manage order information. So your warehouse management system determines which warehouses actually are best suited to fulfill the order based on available inventory and the shipment's final destination. It's all about optimizing the whole supply chain. Okay. Then you have pick and pack. So pick and pack actually happens at a later stage. So your warehouse management system actually creates a packing slip, which is basically a list of products that a customer has ordered, the quantities, and where they are located in the warehouse. And your order picking team select those products and packs them into a shipping box. Then you want to choose a shipping carrier and label, so you can choose a UPS, USPS, DHL, or FedEx, for instance. Okay, your order picking team selects those products and packs them into a shipping box. Okay, and you want to choose the warehouse team actually will purchase the label and print them with a customer's address on them, and then you just ship the package. So the parcel leaves the warehouse and makes its way to your customer via the shipping carrier. Now the whole thing is that when you think about warehouse shipping, obviously you're not doing it, right? You have outsourced the task to a third party who will do that work for you. It could be a 2PL, 3PL, or 4PL partner. So 3PL, that's a third party logistics, 2PL, second party logistics, and 4PL, actually fourth party logistics. Now there are some common shipping issues to be aware of. Okay, I mean the shipping industry is actually unpredictable. You just never know. So that's something to really think about. Okay, now though there is unlikely to be actually a lot of issues for your particular shipping. It's just better that you are aware of certain things. For instance, you have order accuracy. So, a customer who receives items that differ from those they have ordered will need to return the item and wait for a replacement. You have delayed order processing. So, nearly two-thirds of online shoppers expect their order to arrive within 24 hours. But labor shortages and inefficient warehouse layout can cause delays before their order leaves your warehouse, something to be really aware of. And you also might have inventory shortages. I mean, those things happen. Speaking of delays, there is likely to be a holdup if you are waiting for stock to be replenished. So, an inventory management system can prevent this stockouts from causing delays, especially if you set up safety stock alerts that notify you when quantities are actually running low. So let me talk to you now about the facility. So when you think about warehouse shipping, the facilities actually play an important role because that's where you or your team are going to store the let's say the items. Okay. So let me first talk to you about fulfillment center versus shipping warehouse. Because a little earlier I spoke to you about 2PL, 3PL, and 4PL, right? So a fulfillment center is actually a place for retailers to pick, pack, and ship customer orders. The same tasks can actually take place in a shipping warehouse, but warehouse tend to be bigger than order fulfillment centers and have lower inventory turnover because items can be stored for a longer period of time. So that's important to really think about that aspect of things. So when you think about the types of warehouses to actually consider as you think about your warehouse shipping model, you have a public warehouse, you can have a private warehouse, you can have a cooperative warehouse, and you can have abundant or duty free warehouse. Let me explain. Let me first talk about a public warehouse. So a public warehouse is available for anyone to use. I mean, anyone and everyone who can pay for it, of course. Okay. Most often, they are owned by third-party logistics companies, so 3PL companies, and so public warehouses are not limited to a specific company. Anyone who pays for the 3PL's services can store and ship their inventory from the public warehouse. And most 3PLs offer flexible storage terms, allowing retailers to rent space, for instance, rent space on a short-term or long-term basis. So because of this, a public warehouse tends to be the cheaper option for retailers that don't store or ship enough products to make it worth operating their own warehouse. So you got to really see what kind of operations work for you. Then you have the private. A private warehouse is owned, leased, or rented by a single company. So it's only your inventory that will be stored in a private warehouse, making it more secure than a public one. There's also a less risk of your inventory being mixed up with another brand's. Okay, that said, it's also much more expensive to operate a private warehouse, and you might not always get that cash back, especially in periods of low demand. So they are most often used by manufacturers, wholesalers, or large retailers with multiple store locations that have consistent storage requirements year round. Also, let's talk about a cooperative warehouse. So, when you think about cooperative warehouse, I want you to think about the idea of collaborating with other retailers or other entrepreneurs. Okay, so a cooperative warehouse is kind of similar to a public warehouse, but it's not really open to the public, so to speak. It's open to those who are members of the cooperative. Okay, so a cooperative warehouse is actually a storage facility that's the middle ground between public and private. So in this scenario, the shipping warehouse is owned and operated by multiple businesses or members of an organization. For example, if you are a food and beverage retailer that needs refrigeration systems, but you don't want to invest in your own private warehouse or join a generic public one, you could find a cooperative warehouse that's specifically designed for other food and beverage retailers. That way, you are just sharing the cost, right? You are really minimizing the upfront, but also the ongoing cost. and that's really a good strategy, especially if you know that you don't have a consistent demand. And you also have finally a bonded or duty-free sort of warehouse. So a bonded warehouse is a place for inventory to be stored temporarily without paying import duties or taxes, and also known as duty-free warehouses. They are typically owned and operated by customs authorities. Okay, it's one of those things where if you are buying from overseas, then you have to really think about that right off the bat. So, bonded warehouses are worth considering if you plan to import products from overseas, but you want to stagger the customs fee to improve cash flow. And they can stay in the bonded warehouse for a certain period of time. Only when you remove them are they subject to the fee. So that gives you a lot of flexibility, especially when it comes to cash flow optimization. Okay, so those are the four main types of warehouses that you can really think about this year. So just kind of quickly recap here. So you have public warehouses, you have private warehouses, you have cooperative warehouses, and then you have bonded or duty-free warehouses. Now, which one is actually suitable for your operation? It really depends on a series of factors, including your industry, including what rivals are using, what are the best practices in your industry, but also your company's own needs. So let's talk about outsourcing here. When you think about warehouse shipping, sooner or later you got to really think about outsourcing. Why? Because you can't really afford a warehouse by yourself. I mean, and the thing is, you are not in the business of warehousing or warehouse shipping for that matter. Okay, and inflation, as a matter of fact, inflation and lack of space is actually causing warehouse rates to skyrocket. So, according to one report, the average price per square foot for warehouse space this year is about $10. That's a lot of cash. Okay, that's really an increase of over 4% from 2 years prior. And actually, during COVID, the prices were like really really high. By the way, so warehouse shipping services help actually spread the cost of storage space while also outsourcing fulfillment. So what happens here is that most rent space in their warehouses. I mean, in their like when you actually have the rent space in those warehouses, especially when they are dedicated to retailers. What happens here is that most rent space in warehouses to retailers who don't store or ship enough inventory to warrant paying for their own warehouse space could be a little like negative for your cash flow in the long run. So for a small fee on each order, basically you can really outsource the whole work to a third party. So you just need to have your own warehouse employees or the warehouse employees themselves. They can pick, pack, and ship orders to your customers with no intervention required on your part. Especially, and this is kind of interesting, especially if you want to streamline your operations in the long run. So that's really important to think about. Okay, so you have a lot of services though. You have a Shopify fulfillment network. You have ShipBob. You have a lot of them. You have Red Stack Fulfillment, for instance. Those are pretty great players in this field. Okay, so this is kind of cool because then you have a clear idea of what's happening to your inventory even before it leaves the warehouse. So that's really cool. So let me give you a few tips for using warehouse shipping. So one thing for sure, if you want to optimize your cash flows, but also your inventory and also your supply chain, you got to have a method. Okay. So warehouse shipping is an effective way to deliver product to your customers quickly and cost effectively. And the last thing you want is to have stockouts. You do not want to have stockouts, and you want to really be able to optimize your supply chain consistently. So I want to give you a few tips to keep you on track when it comes to warehouse shipping. First thing first, you want to optimize the warehouse layouts. That's really important from an organizational point of view. Okay, so it should be as easy as possible to locate a specific product and pack it in a customer order. Optimize your layout to have a clear packing stations and situate best-selling inventory on organized shelving close to these stations. And so this will limit how far your fulfillment team has to travel and therefore help them pack orders more efficiently. You also want to use warehouse management software, so WMS. Warehouses can be big places. It's not always easy to find a specific product that you're looking for. So, a warehouse management software tool can manage all aspects of warehouse shipping operations. It can tell you where products are, designate tasks to each staff member, and manage how you receive your new inventory. So, that's kind of cool. You want to automate as much as possible. Not all tasks in the warehouse have to be completed manually. You can reduce actually human error and increase productivity by automating processes like the creation of packing slips or restocking low quantities of inventory. You want to use a real-time inventory management system, okay? And you also want to implement quality control procedures. It's important. Warehouses are not just places to store unsold inventory. They are ideal places to manage customer returns and receive shipments from suppliers. So you want to set up a dedicated area for unapproved inventory that's separated from approved goods. You also want to think about health and safety hazards. Okay, for example, OSHA compliance is really key, and you want to secure discounted shipping labels. Okay, and that's really important. And finally, you want to choose appropriate packing materials. Opt for lightweight options that are most sustainable and cost effective, such as corrugated cardboard when packing and shipping orders from the warehouse. So that's really important from a flexibility point of view. So the thing is that when it comes to warehouse shipping, you have to really understand that. I think I've said this before, but I want to reiterate the fact that you got to have a strategy. Okay, warehouse shipping is a superb way to hold unsold inventory before it arrives at your retail store. And if you are taking online orders alongside, let's say, those processed in store, you won't need to draw resources away from your retail team to fulfill them. Okay, it becomes really the responsibility of your warehouse team. So that's really something that's important to keep in mind. Now, when you think about a warehouse shipping provider, you have a lot of key services that you actually are benefiting from if you partner with the right organization. You have storage fees, minimum requirements, warehouse location, team size and capacity, use of technology, automation for shipping processes, and integration with your e-commerce platform. In other words, those are the key services and capabilities you want to look for in a warehouse shipping provider before actually signing the SLA. Okay, that's important. Now, how do you determine the optimal number and location of warehouses for your business? It really depends. The best warehouse location is actually close to your customers. The less distance a product has to travel, the quicker and cheaper it will be to deliver. So you want to choose a warehouse within this region and ask how much space they have available. If you have too much inventory to store, consider spreading it across multiple facilities. This will help you actually in the long run, by the way. Okay. And so actually the shipping process is kind of important in a warehouse because it really determines how fast your orders are picked, packed, and shipped to the customer. This significantly impacts cost. The less time you spend dealing with shipping, the more orders you can get out of the warehouse and into a happy customer's hands. Okay, that's really something to really think about. Now you can also set up your own shipping warehouse. That's totally possible. You can really say, you know what, I want to do everything in house. So if you want to go that route, you want to determine how much storage space you need. Find hotspots where your customers live. Choose between a private, public, or co-op warehouse. Organize the warehouse with shelving and a designated packing station. Train staff on health and safety. Create warehouse shipping procedures, and consider outsourcing to a 3PL and using the company's warehouse. So, in conclusion to this conversation, I spoke to you about warehouse shipping. I gave you the benchmarking train, the facilities, the outsourcing process, and finally, I gave you the conclusion to this show. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will speak to you another time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.